Hi, my name is Samantha, and today we will be cooking biscuits and gravy, a family recipe. This is our first video. The person recording is my fiance, soon-to-be husband. We're getting married next week, so it might be a little bit before our next video, but we're really excited. My background is I'm an engineer. I just finished my doctorate, so I have a very analytical mindset, and I do have severe food allergies. The biggest ones are peanut, tree nut, and soy. And so I know this is a community where we have to cook more often at home, and I want to help people learn how to make delicious food without breaking out. So today, we'll be coming over this way. First, I wanted to discuss the knives. So this is a Santoku style. You can see it's a straight edge. And you still do a pinch grip with it. So your thumb and your pointer finger, your hands wrap around the base and they pinch. And this gives you the ability to move it around. And this is my personal preference, but either one works. But you just go straight up and down. Now this one is a French style knife. They're typically longer, and you still do the same pinch grip, wrap, pinch. But instead of going up and down, this one you rock. Now this one is good when you're mincing things and you really need to get a fine mince, like with shallots. But today we're just using a yellow onion, so I'll be using a Santoku knife. So the very first thing we're going to do is preheat the oven for the biscuits. So we're going to set it to 350 and let that begin while we cut the onion. So cutting an onion, if you're unfamiliar, you have your root end and then the other side. Well, actually, this is the root end. That's why you have to be careful looking. Which side is the root? Hard to tell. I think this is the main root. So hopefully I'm correct. Usually it's easier to tell, but you cut off one end. This gives you stability, and then you cut through the root. Okay, so there you go. Yep, and I got the root correct. You see that? You can tell that's the root, and that'll hold it together. So we'll move that to the side. Go ahead and do a top view, please. So we move our edges, and then you're going to take the corner and peel the skin. All right, peel the skin, make sure we get the little pieces off. But you see how it's all together, nothing's falling out? That's how you know the root holds it together. It makes it easier for you to chop it consistently. And yes, it's not overnight, but you will learn the technique over time. Isaiah can tell you from my early photos that I was not a natural chef. I had to learn. Okay, so this one fell out, but that's okay. We'll place it back in. Get to chopping. So now we have our root and they're peeled. What we're going to do next is go side view. Fully side. So we take the knife, be careful, and you kind of shimmy it up this side. And this is to make the overall chop a little smaller. So you do that. You don't have to be perfect. And then from the base side to the root, you can go top view. And you just go straight down, pinch it together, hold it together. Okay? Then we turn it. So we have cut first horizontally from the base to the root, and then we went vertical base to the root, and now we've turned it sideways, root, and we're going base parallel to the base, and you just go down, 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 and you don't have to get too close. You don't want to potentially cut yourself, but you can see they're roughly the same size. And you're just going to repeat that with the other half. Let me move our trash. We're going to repeat the process. So here, you shimmy it up. I kind of push down with the top hand just to give me some stability. I'll chop this one real quick just on its own since it came out. Then we go base to root. Just vertical slices, pinch it together, And then you go parallel to the base. And then at the last one, sometimes I flip it over and get the last little bit. So now we have our chopped onion, and we'll go to the next step. Okay, so we have our oven preheating, and we've chopped our onion. So next we have a soup pot, I don't know, stock pot, and it's off. We don't have the stove on yet, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna add the onion we just chopped to the cold pan. And you may be thinking, what about butter, or how is it not gonna stick? And what we do for that is we're going to put the raw sausage in there too and brown it with the onion. So, a comment on sausage. I haven't had this one in a while, so we'll see how we do. But it says that it's fresh pork, including fresh ham and fresh tenderloin. Water contains less than 2% of salt, spices, sugar, MSG, and celery extract, and it's gluten-free. So for me, looking at sausage, I thought this one should be safe for me. Peanut, tree nut, and soy are my biggest allergies. I typically use like regular. This one says mild. Breakfast would be another one. But for this recipe, we do sage. But when they add flavoring to the sausage, then you get into the areas of natural and artificial flavors. And I have broken out to that. In general, they don't tell you what those are. And it's a can of worms that you want to avoid. So it's best to do simple and add your own spices and try to buy it pre-made. The convenience foods are not for us. That's just a general statement, but this is the way to be as safe as possible and still have flavor. So we're gonna cut it up. I just used the butter knife. It's nothing fancy. You just pull it out. Get it all in there. And of course, after this, you're gonna wash our hands. But you just want to get all the meat out of the foil. You can go ahead and show them the pot while I wash my hands. So we added the onion and the raw meat, and then we washed our hands. And then we're going to set the temperature to a medium heat, around a 4 or 5 on the dial. Now here, McCormick is very good spices. I also like the organic brand from Great Value. They have very delicious spices, just in a general. But those are the two I typically stick with. And then we're going to make our mild sausage sage. And it's really to personal taste, but you just add a bit, and then we're going to mash it. Now, if you're not familiar with this is a meat masher. So these are hard plastic. And then this one ends up having it. It makes it like a rubber silicone to get the edge of the pot. But really, any of them will do. And the way this works is you just push up and down, and it breaks up the meat. And the grease of the sausage will help the onions to saute, so you don't have to worry about anything sticking. I'm just going to start breaking it up, and we're going to let the pan get warm. And as it gets warm, you'll just have to do it every so often until it's browned. Okay, so now, as you can see, it's fully browned and it's nice and minced. So we're done with this. I'm going to go ahead and put it in the sink, and I'll be right back. Okay. And then now, I like the Pillsbury Grand's butter tasting. It's okay with me. You may just want to use buttermilk, depending on your allergies. But this one just may contain milk ingredients. And it's good for me. So, we have our pan. The oven is already preheated. Go ahead and change spots with me, baby. So I'm going to peel these, and I'm going to set them, but I'm not going to put them in the oven yet, but we're going to prep them before we start the next step on the gravy. Don't be scared of the pop. You'll get used to it. Okay. Just gonna set them out. Get the one that's hiding in the corner. Okay. Got our last two here. Now these are the flaky, the country are just as good. It's again personal preference. So we have them prepped, we have the oven preheated, but before we put them in, so the timing is the milk will thicken up in the gravy. Once you pour the milk in, that's when you put the biscuits in. If you do it too soon, the gravy will be too thick when the biscuits are done. So it's a timing thing, but we have it ready for when we pour the milk in, then we put the biscuits in. So we have a half cup dry. And you want to have a spoon ready to mix. But we're just going to sprinkle the flour on top. So we did a half cup of the flour. Go ahead and do a top shot for me, baby. So here, we're just going to get the liquid from the grease, the liquid grease. I'm going to stir that in. It gets kind of thick. But everything's just vibing, right? And you just want to make sure you don't see the white anymore from the flour. You're not browning it. You're just kind of getting it incorporated. So you don't see any white there, okay? That's what you want to see. And then we have poultry seasoning. For those that are unfamiliar, it's its own blend. Now, this recipe originally came from my Aunt Franshel, but I take some liberties with the spices, so I've adapted it to my own. But originally, it was a teaspoon of poultry, but I'm a little heavy-handed if you show the side. It's a pretty big heap, but it adds a lot of flavor. So we have a teaspoon of that, a heaping teaspoon. And nutmeg, I usually grind the nut itself, and yes, it's nutmeg, but it's not a nut. I haven't had any problems with nutmeg. It's different. Peanuts are actually a legume, for those that are unfamiliar. This one, about a teaspoon. And then the last spice we're going to do, give me just a second, is salt. For cooking, I use the Morton kosher salt, and you can buy them in the big block, and this unscrews, and you can reuse it. But I like this one a lot. And for this, we're going to use, I don't know if you can see it, it's a 1/4 teaspoon. And this one I use as a level teaspoon. Now we're going to mix that in. Make sure the spices are incorporated. And as you can see, you're like, oh no, things are stuck. We'll show how you get rid of that. The milk is how we're going to get that off. So give me just a second. You can keep it recording, but just take a step back, baby. So I have my 4-cup liquid measure. So we're going to do a full quart, which is 4 cups. So let me get the second thing of milk. So yeah, if you have milk to use in the fridge, this is a great recipe. Let me spin down like a true scientist. Looks good. So in the liquid, this is where we do a Worcestershire sauce. Now, a word on Worcestershire sauce, you have to be very careful. They frequently have soy in it. But as you can see here, this one contains anchovies. You can also find, I think it's Leah and Perkins. They're okay too. I think it's Leah and Perkins. We'll have to double check. We'll put it in the comments if it's different. But there are Worcestershire sauces that do not contain soy, but that's one you have to check the ingredients on. It adds a lot of flavor though. And this one, again, it's to your heart's content. I do about 3 drops, heavy drops. And then Tabasco. I really like things spicy. If you're not, you could omit it. It's optional. But to make it a little tastier, You add about 10 drops. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is add milk. I'm just going to go ahead and pour it all in. You can do it in little bits, but we get it all in there, and then you start scraping the bottom, and it'll start to come up. And that flour that coated the sausage, it'll start to dissolve into the milk, and that's what helps thicken up the milk. So you have partial, it's evaporating, but also you're thickening it up. So now that we've added the milk, we're going to put the biscuits in the oven. And it's on the middle rack. Let me double check, but I think it's going to be 13 minutes. 14 to 17. It really depends on your oven. But we'll set it for 14 minutes. And we'll be back with you shortly. We used whole milk. I've done it with skim milk too. It just takes a little longer to thicken up. But as you can see, it's starting to incorporate and it's getting a little thicker, but it's not quite ready yet. But I still have it on medium. We could make it a little higher. Depends on your stove, of course. Electric's a little harder to use than gas. But you just have to play around and look for the right thickness. But it'll start to bubble up. If you can see, it's getting really close, but it's not quite bubbling. Once it's bubbling, you can turn down the heat and just let it simmer. And then if it's starting to get thick before your biscuits are done, you just turn it off. For electric, it's really important that you move it off of the burner that it's on, because the flat top or the coil, but electric stays warm. So you don't want to lose more of the water from the milk. Like you can see the evaporation. You don't want to lose too much of the liquid or it'll get too thick. But if it ever gets too thick on you, you can add more milk. But of course, you want to try to avoid that if you can. So the timer just went off for the 14 minutes. So we're going to check our biscuits. And let's see. Those look good to me. They're nice and golden brown. So now, as you can see, this was the burner that we had. It's still warm, but our gravy was done, so we took it off, and it's maintained that nice thick gravy consistency. So what we're going to do is we're going to plate it. What I like to do is take a biscuit. I usually use parchment paper. I didn't here, so it might stick just a little bit, but that's okay. So I turn it on its side, I pop it, and I break it up a bit. And then I add the gravy. I like to use a bowl because I like it extra gravy, but you can do it on a plate too if you want, just whatever you like. But let's see. Now this is one I made a lot, but we'll do a taste test just for you guys. You want to get a spoon shot, honey? But yeah, doesn't that look delicious? Tastes great. Thank you for watching.